Hey, let me tell you a little story. It's about the first time that I ever had zesty nachos from Denny's, and it was also the first time that I almost got beat up by Phil Defranco. Not because, Phil's a bad guy or anything, but because I completely deserved it. The year is 2012, and no, the story doesn't end in some sort of apocalypse. It's the beginning of my YouTube career with that cooking channel you may remember that rhymes with tepid real crime. And it's the first time that we'd ever visited California. The guys and I are about to drive from LA to San Diego to partake in the Comic-Con festivities, so you can imagine the excitement. A bunch of idiots that rose to fame overnight, primarily by getting wasted on Jack Daniels. Now we're all on the road, about to host our first ever live show, and we all felt like we had something to prove. If you saw last week's episode of Storytime, then you're probably already starting to notice a trend. I used to drink a lot. Stay tuned for future episodes to see if I keep the trend going. So, we're at an Irish pub in San Diego. The whiskey was flowing and the rage was upon me. Apparently, Philip Defracno was there. Now, at that time, we were being managed by the same company as Phil, so this was supposed to be a really good opportunity to network. Unfortunately, 2012 Josh was not business Josh. Not that 2018 Josh is really business Josh. I mean, I still do make eggs on the internet for a living. But the whiskey, combined with the excitement of the trip, created a chemical imbalance that turned me into an enormous, heaping pile of cringe. At the time, Phil went by the name of Sexy Phil. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. He's successful and carries himself well, and above all, a really, really nice guy. None of that mattered to me at that exact moment. Before long, I'm being held back by my friends while berating Phil with lines such as,
"Fuck you, Phil! You're not that sexy!"
All while looking at my crew, I'm like,
"I'm sexier than him! I'm fucking sexier than him!"
I'm not sure why I felt this way, and all I know is that to this day, I've never stopped apologizing. This probably went on for a good 20 to 30 minutes of pure, unadulterated cringe before our group was greeted by a fan and his 12-year-old son. The son's name was Cass Flanagan. This is not a name that you forget, regardless of how many whiskeys you've had. You see, Cass and his father had been watching the show that rhymes with septic deal mime since the first episode. They'd heard me emotionally abusing Phil Defranco from the other side of the restaurant, and they had to come over and say hi. I couldn't make out what either of them were saying, but I did notice what to me looked like the greatest piece of jewelry on the planet. There it was, dangling around little Cass Flanagan's neck, a 1-inch cartoon bacon strip pendant with a smiley face and googly eyes that couldn't have cost more than $2.50. I asked him how much. He said it wasn't for sale, but I had to have it. I offered him $50. He accepted. I felt like a winner. He looked at me like I was a loser. I still have that necklace, and regardless of how much I paid for it, Cass Flanagan became a legend to us that day. We all still talk about him, even though we don't even talk to each other. At this point, I realized that Phil took the opportunity to leave the restaurant, and instead of chasing after him, the crew convinced me to celebrate my new piece of jewelry with a plate of zesty nachos from Denny's. Now, at the beginning of this story, I said that I almost got beat up by Phil. Not because I had any reason to believe that Phil actually wanted to beat me up, but if I were Phil, I would have beat me up. But maybe that's the difference between Phil and I. I was there to get wasted. I'm pretty sure Phil had a Diet Coke.